Good morning. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee and Chat with Hallee Bridgeman. I'm so happy you could join me this morning. I'm coming to you from my home office in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I have my cup of coffee. So I hope you have your cup of coffee or tea or whatever you drink in the morning and you have a few minutes while we chat about my books. So the question that I'm answering today from a reader is, are you ever going to write another series like the Song of Suspense series? So the Song of Suspense series is Book 1, A Melody for James, which is a book about corporate espionage, stalker, two lovers who met and then were separated from circumstance for years. I mean, it's a whole compilation. And then we have An Aria for Nick, which is like Mission Impossible, nuclear espionage, trying to save the world, racing against, the enemy, trying to, before the bomb goes off kind of thing. A Carol for Kent, which is a serial killer, and Carol is the prosecuting attorney for the city of Richmond, and a few victims into the serial killings, she realizes that the victims are being dressed up like her. And then A Harmony for Steve, which is about a hard rocker, Steve, who gets clean, finds Christ, starts singing Christian music with harmony, and his fans are not happy. And they are a satanic cult who come after her. All right, so the Song of Suspense series was my attempt to write different kinds of suspense. And so, with A Melody for James, it was like this, you knew the perspective of the bad guy, mostly. There was hidden elements that you don't know all the way through that are revealed at the end. It was, in the first chapter, James's wife is blown up by a paramilitary force as they're discovering this multi-billion-dollar technology, storage, the ability to store technology. I can't even begin to explain it well in video. And so it's like just this involved, all these different elements coming together, and how it all ties together at the end. Okay. And Melody is being stalked, and her life is threatened, and there's even a sniper who tries to take her out. And so it was the first book I ever wrote. I wrote it after I had a dream, and I wrote it in 6 weeks, and it was this, I didn't know I could write until I wrote it. Okay, so An Aria for Nick is military. He's a military. She thinks he's dead. They were high school sweethearts, and she was his point of contact for the military if he died. She got his life insurance and his death benefits. And come to find out, he was like pulled into this black ops, and he was, Mission Impossible. And so when I wrote that book, the ending was originally the same ending as the first Mission Impossible movie, but I wrote it like 5 years before that movie even came out. And so I was really angry when I watched that movie because I had to rewrite the ending of my book because I knew that people would think I would have copied that. But that's okay, because by the time it was published, it was post 9/11, so it was a completely different world. And then A Carol for Kent is like this serial killer. You get the perspective of the serial killer as he's approaching his victims, but it would almost be like if his eyes were the camera, if you were watching a movie. So you have no idea what he looks like. You only know what his view is, his point of view. And I don't even know that you even really get his thoughts as much as you get what he's seeing and why he's going that direction. Okay. And then, and Carol is, this hardworking woman, and she's head of the case, and Bobby is a country music singer who was friends with Melody from the first book, and was college sweethearts with Carol, and they have a child that Bobby didn't know about. It's this really involved, multi-layered story that all comes to a head. And then A Harmony for Steve was something I had to quit writing halfway through writing it because I had gotten so dark. Because when I go into my characters, I just really get into their point of view. And like I said, this was a satanic cult. And so it just was like getting darker and darker in my mind. And I actually stopped writing it in order to write the Virtues and Valor series. And so I got those 8 books written and then went back to Harmony for Steve and finished it. And it was less dark, but it was still, it's a heavy book. You know, he's a drug addict. And so the first couple of chapters, you get that. And when they go after Harmony, because they're really unhappy with the way that Steve has, you know, left the fold, whatever, they go after her viciously. And so, you know, it's not a sweet book. So, and those are my suspense novels. Now I also have On the Ropes, which is a story that I wrote for a box set where I had to write a character who was using a hidden identity for some reason. And so I went with witness protection, Russian mafia, sex trade, because apparently I can't write light. But the difference is, let me show you, you know, here's the Song of Suspense series and here's On the Ropes. And so this is a novella. This is a short book. And these are long, full-length, involved stories with multiple layers. And so I love suspense. If I was going to, in my, you know, serious reading days, I read suspense. I read Tom Clancy. I read Agatha Christie. I read Nagio Marsh. I read Nora Roberts. You know, all of these, everything had to be suspense with something else going on. And so that's what I love to consume. And you know, if I'm going to watch a show, it's going to be, you know, my favorite movies are action suspense or murder mysteries or whatever. And so, you know, just the simple romances are not what I would go and pick to write. But the first series I released was the Jewel series, which is just pretty much straight up, not suspense, straight up romance. And other than Topaz Heat, which has like a level of suspense to it, but nothing really major. But people loved it, and that's where the bulk of my fan base is. And so, you know, I left the Jewel series to write the Song of Suspense series and then the World War II series, which is suspense. And I have people constantly requesting, when are you going to write another series like the Jewel series? And so the next series I write, the Dixon Brothers series, is just straight up romance, just contemporary romance. There will be elements of danger because of the plot of the first book, but only because that's, you know, who the characters are. It's not really going to be a suspense book. But after that one, I intend to write Special Forces series. And so it will be a team of special forces. It's a 4-book series. And the first book is the team rescuing the vice president's daughter, who is on a mission, on the mission field in Africa as a doctor. And the second book is about the one of the guys on the team who loses his leg in the first book and who's now like an ambulance paramedic. He's a paramedic in an inner city, and there's a hostage situation with a women's shelter. So, you know, there will be a suspense series coming, but it will be military focused. And then I'm in the process of creating a long-lasting series that will be books and books and books and books. So it will be, you know, I'll write a series like the Dixon Brothers and then put a couple of these out and then write a, you know, whatever. And so I'm calling it right now my Small Town Suspense series because I don't really know exactly what I'm going to call it or what it's all going to be. But it will be a small town in Kentucky. And all of my main characters, at least one of my main characters to them all, will be some form of first response or military or, you know, detective, whatever it will be. And so there will be just a constant. My town is being built. There's a town I'm modeling it after. My husband and I are regularly stay there. And every time we stay there, we take pictures and draw maps. And and plan, because this town is actually in Indiana, right over the bridge from Kentucky, but it has a casino, it has a power plant, it has industry, but it's a small town. And so it's exactly the setup that I need. So I'm just going to shift it over the river and put it in Kentucky. And so there will be other series like the Song of Suspense series. However, the Song of Suspense series is unique because it's 4 suspense books that are all unique, different kinds of suspense writing. And it was just the way that I was just experimenting with writing suspense and seeing what I can do with it and how I can write it, and discovering what I liked most. And what I really enjoyed the most writing was Carol and Aria, which was the Mission Impossible style with the military, and then the serial killer with Carol. And so those will probably be more of what my suspense looks like in the future. But suspense books are going to come sporadically in between contemporary romance series because the bulk of my fan base fell in love with the Jewel series. So hope that answers your question. And I thank you for your question. If you have a question for me, you can go to my website or on my newsletter and just click the link, and it will take you to a Google form, and just fill out the question. Ask me anything. If I don't want to answer it, I won't pick your question. But the questions that I get have been so much fun to answer, and it's getting harder and harder to pick which one because they're all so good. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next Monday. God bless you.